I think I have all my trading systems up and running. NQ's pushing new lows. Let's get Globex high and low in really quick. And I have not sent out the charts yet, so let me do that really fast. Again, I apologize. My computers were both down when I got here. I'm sending out the file right now. Compose. Form. Okay, got that done. It's W12. 19. Add file. Bill, if you would please check to make sure that all the charts got in there. 19. Open. If anyone needs the TradeStation file and has not received it, please let me know. That has just been sent. And wow. I obviously do not have the last of my important tech in place. And I need WhatsApp running. Wow, it was pouring, and I knew that we had an electrical storm, but wow, iTunes, you just suck. I do not want you up and running right now. Okay, I got that running. Okay, let's go. And I don't think I'm sharing my screen. There we go. I think we're in business now. Okay, Globex high and low. Forget Russell really quick. I'm going to have to jump into window range all. Let's start with NQ. Are we opening below 8 value low 65, 24.50? 65. We are just below value low. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. That's close enough for hand grenades. Globex low, just below. So this is important, right? This is a minimum mark for potential downside rotation, right? Pits the white zone up here. That's what we had to get underneath value area low in order to have the chance to roll lower today, right? So that's been accomplished. Globex high came in at 65, 45, 75. We were in a very narrow range to start with. That's Globex high. Again, the market consolidated yesterday. I would not assume a downside day, right? The break still has to come, and we still have a gap fill to handle. Let's just see what the open looks like, and if we actually manage an open drive lower on NQ or not, right? Let's go to ES, get Globex high and low in. ES, 2694.50. Sorry for sounding so discombobulated. That was very frustrating to have everything out of order. We have not broken down there yet, or even remotely close, right? We're basically just holding the white zone. Remember, the House votes either today or tomorrow on the tax package, so expect that to cause a little bit of wackiness. Good Lord. And 2698. Right, so the first thing you'll notice is ES and NQ aren't aligned. Not an initial problem right out of the gate. Wow. Should have just picked Globex high. I didn't. There we go. I've messed this up completely. Style, rain, and just to get clarification, Globex high. Okay, past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes. The idea behind this, important. You can lose a lot of money trading futures, right? Make sure you have a plan that's actually working, that you're not constantly drawing down. You should have, in my opinion, a higher win rate than a loss rate, and your RR should be somewhat in line with your win rate, meaning You have a 40% win rate, you better have a very high RR, or a lower RR, you better have a very high win rate, right? If it's not working in real dollars, go back to paper trading until you figure out what your psychological issues are. That's usually where the problem lies, right? And you either have a strategic problem or you have a psychological problem, but you don't have both, right? So NQ is opening up near the low, ES is opening up near its high. We already know the markets are not in alignment, right? So what do you want to do when that occurs right out of the gate? First, I want to pause is the first thing I want to do, because I don't know who's going to lead who, or if they're just going to be totally separate and go on their own merry way, right? I just simply have no idea beforehand. I do know on NQ, right, relative to where we're opening, the first place that we have a really good shot at tools, on the line. First place we have a really good shot is down near 64.94. I want to say it again, 64.94.50 is the first place I'd look to have a good, very interesting place to look at where we have a potential for a reversal back up, right? Doesn't mean that we'll get there. It's just where I find the area most interesting. I don't have, wow, I've just gotten everything that I prepared last night is just offline. Give me 1 second so I can show you my other computer. Join me. Let me get that started. Start, join me. Then I can share my other computer screen. Start. It's over here. I can't show it to you if I can't get it up and running. Give me 1 second. It's working on it. And they both just say connecting. Technical issues suck in the morning. There we go. Got one going. Got two going. There we go. There we are. Here's the other screen. Get rid of this. And then go to this. And we have, there we are. So this is NQ. So a couple of things. So I mentioned earlier the first area I had of interest. It's between that 64.93 and additionally this volume pointing. This is an NVPOC and a TPO pointing control right here. Plus you can see we just spent an enormous amount of time. TPO measures time, right? Here's the volume profile. You can see in this area, this whole chunk of area, this is where all the volume is. In order to really get bearish, we have to get underneath that. So I'd write that down. We have to get underneath and hold underneath that 64.72. I put that in the video last night. You have to get underneath 64.72. If you don't get underneath 64.72, all you have is coming back in and checking up on the profile. You'll notice in this profile, you can't see my mouse. You'll notice in this profile, see how many pock marks there are in the profile all the way down to 64.34. So if we were to some reason seriously melt, 64.34 puts us both 100 down, which is a normal area to find response, and it repairs this chart from the day. The TPO point of control has already been tested, and behind that you have 64.10-ish, right in 64.13, 64.10. I don't expect to get down in this area. I would really expect 64, even if we got ugly, 64.82 to 64.72 to hold us in general, and that's where I'll be looking for responsive buys following our process, getting above our last seller, backside testing, so that I can measure risk. If I take it straight into a free fall into the NVPOC, I'll be half size, right? And then I'll be willing to add once I get above my last seller. What that looks like, I only have a few minutes, so I want to show what this looks like, so it's important. As I push down, awful color. As I push down, right, I get a series of bars and we're just coming down. Maybe we're trading sideways. Then we push down again. I am waiting till I get above my last best seller. That may be this guy. That may be this guy. I'll determine from the indicators that we have in the room, right? Once I get above this guy, let's say this is my last best seller. I close above, right? I will look for a backside test into that bar. This will end up being my stop loss. So the bar will determine my stop loss and my trade size, and I will look for a reversal for a push back up. That's my process that I'm looking for on my last best seller. If we start to melt, considering we're opening near the low, possibility I don't think it's a strong possibility, but it's a possibility. NQ's just run a long way, right? The more logical explanation is we come back in, we fill in the unauctioned area, and we find responsive buys in there. Again, the market will tell me intraday what it's going to be. I know this is my key area, and I know holding below my value area low right down here at the bottom, an inability to close back in within the first 30 minutes really opens me up to getting a push to the downside. I will let the market tell me what that's going to look like. NES, I'm going to go quick here. I'm looking for the same process, right? 10-point rotations are key. Here's ES. Okay, on ES, the first clue that we might have a downside rotation will be a get below and hold below 26.9350. You'll see that we held 26.94, which is the volume point of control overnight, right? You'll see that there's some space in between here. Dalton, there is a half gap in play on this, which goes from here to here. I want to make sure in case I forgot to put it on the chart last night. 26.87 and a quarter is the mid of the modified half gap is what that is, and it's likely to find a responsive buyer. There is no volume build there. That's just an area where locals tend to look to get responsive buying. It would be from where we're trading right now, approximately a 10-point roll to the downside. Please mark it on your charts. I don't know if I have it on the charts I posted last night. It's important. 26.87 and a quarter. Okay, you generally want to front run that by a tick or two in order to be able to get in. If that doesn't hold, right, this profile is actually damaged, but not as damaged as the NQ trade was. So a couple of things. First of all, this neighborhood should offer us some support. Guys who are in the room knows what that means, but basically I expect this area to find some responsive buying combined with the volume point of control and the TPO point of control are very close. Again, I'm following process for the last steps of entry, or what I'll call the last mile before entry. I want to get above my last best seller, get backside tested, or reduce my trade size if I'm just taking it naked. That works. Waiting to get above your last best seller gives you a clue. When you get above that last best seller, it gives you a clue that you might actually get a really fat extension out of that, which is why we're looking. Again, if we don't get below 26.93, forget about this. We're not even going there. Right, and we're opening at 26.97. We have to get below the volume point of control on ES and below 26.93 to have any shot at this 26.87 and into this area down here. That gives you a look at the map. ES is not bearish. NQ a little bit more so, right? Bearish is a harsh word to use on NQ. NQ has a chance of backing and filling a little bit. I wouldn't call it bearish, right? So the area I'm looking for specifically this morning, let me go, hold on one second. I want to go look. I will attempt probably a short on NQ, and I will attempt that at, let me see this, best buyer. $63.35 and a quarter to $63.36 and a quarter. Okay, and I really don't want it trading above 65.40. So it's a reasonably small stop. That's where I'll be knocking on the door if I can get up there. I don't know that I can get up there, but if I get up there, 63.36, that's where I'll probably take my shot at a short. I'll put a 5-point stop. That's $100 a contract. That's my risk and my trade. Right now, I'll tell you right now, the proper stop on that is the overnight swing high. Right. I'm not doing that. I'm taking a smaller entry and exit on that particular trade. And that's all there is to say on that. On ES, I don't have a short entry or a long entry. It's just in a tight chop range. I'll have to wait till the market opens up and develops from there. I do not know, but I will find out. Not that I particularly care whether there is. I imagine we are going to end up with a balanced day at the end of the day, waiting for this vote from the House and from the Senate. Right? I'm not exactly sure whether the House has to vote and the Senate has to ratify or exactly what process that does, but I do expect that to generate some pretty vicious whipsaws as 64.35 and a quarter to 64.36 and a quarter. Does that help, Bill? Are we on the same page? And this morning we have FOMC member Kashkari speaks. No time set on that. And zero econ. It argues for balance again. So balance, the best place to play it is on the edges. That's where I'll be looking to play. I do not have, but I will get it up rather promptly. I do not have my internals up. Bill? Hmm? Okay. And let's insert tick. We'll want to be looking to see where tick is, where the internals are out of the gate. And NQES, insert tick. Let's flip this around. Usually I have this in the middle and NQ on the edge. There's NQ, right? Here's ES. We'll make Russell smaller, make ES bigger, and we will get the tick in. Insert symbol, tick. Okay, important today, right? The goal is, our only goal is to do what the market wants to do. We don't have an up direction. We don't have a down direction. We just have what the market wants, and we want what the market wants. Pretty plain and simple. We're not calling tops. We're not calling bottoms. We're simply noting where there's displacement in the market, right? Where they're giving us an opportunity to backside test particular trade locations for trade setups, which again, for me on NQ, start at 64.94.50, which is still another 30 points down from the open. A backside test of that 63.35 to 63.36 neighborhood. That's where I am looking. That is where I'm looking to pick up a trade. So there's the gap. Russell gapped, NQ gapped down, ES gapped up. ES is within range. Tick is neutral to modest, and advancers are only 1,307. We probably need to let the first minute rotation go to get a good idea of where that's coming in. And NQ Globex low, I believe, ended up at 65.20 and a quarter. Please correct me if I'm wrong, one of the members in the room. Right, again, I'm not bearish on NQ, and 65.36, 65.35 is where I'll be looking to tag in if they give me an opportunity. I don't know that they will, right? And I'm just not in a rush to do anything. We should get a trade. Yesterday I called off a short. It's hard for me to short near market tops, even if it's the right trade. I just respect the fact that we're going pretty vertical in NQ. And remember, our best trade setups come from the market getting rolled to the downside. In NQ, 30 points. In ES, 10 to 15 points. Finding tick divergence on higher time frames, right? I'll say that again, finding tick divergence on higher time frames. And even though we're not above 1,500 on advancers decliners, I would suspect somewhere in here we're going to get a trading opportunity. Well, I wouldn't use the word a lot, Daniel. I would say there's 1 day worth of buyers trapped above, right? It's not like we consolidated sideways for 4 days up here. I would say there are some buyers trapped above, but ES and NQ aren't in alignment, right? And I got to say, with NQ gapping down like that, it does give us the opportunity, potential opportunity for a downside roll. So we want to be watching the 65.27 and 3/4. If we have an inability to trap back above and hold back above, and it can trade back into it. The question is, does it close back into it in the first half hour? And only time will answer that question for us. But I am pretty confident I will find a trading opportunity somewhere in here. I am already lined up at 65.35, just so everyone knows, and no one gets any shock out of that fact. Okay, I think I got that set up. Mike, I am. Hold on 1 second here. Does not everyone Maybe I did not post this. I see what the problem is. Again, everyone knows where I'm parked right there at that 65.35, just underneath that white zone. And again, I'm not overly bearish on ES or NQ. I'll just wait till it kind of shakes out one way or the other. Let me flip these around. If anyone sees the market in a different way, please let me know. I'm always open to another view, but internals are not supporting. And minimize this. Internals are only 1373. Advanced decline is at 1.19. That's not horrible. It's not great. It's not bad. It just doesn't support an open drive higher trend day. It really supports an open auction where we whip both sides, right? You can see we just pushed to 65.30. We didn't make it to that 65.35, which is where I need it to get to in order to have an entry. I'm hoping they'll push up. And tick is positive to neutral at only plus 240. And there is no news. That usually argues for slow grind balance. So for guys in the room, guys I'm coaching, right? You want to put your mindset immediately at, hey, I want to slow down my thinking, right? I want to slow down. Do I have to move fast? Do I have to move slow? I'd love it if the market roll. If I don't get the short, right, I'd love it for the market to roll down. I'll find a long somewhere and from areas down lower. If we roll up, I'll find a long from areas. I'll find a short from areas above. Remember, when we're in balanced days, we tend to actually have pretty good days. So there's nothing to be upset about one way or the other. We're just short of this white zone, which is a little bit wider than normal on Russell. Just be aware of that when adjusting for risk for my Russell traders. And ES is backside testing right now, and I don't have a trade set up actually for that. I actually had a short that I didn't take on that because I didn't see it. It didn't even occur to me to take it. And we hit it right out of the gate at 26.97.50. So shame on me, I missed that. Again, I'm not worried about missing the initial trades right out of the gate. And I'm going to go refill my coffee while this thing decides what it wants to do. And we're about 10 points away from me getting any kind of fill on NQ. So we'll just let that work itself out. And again, for those who joined us late, or I joined late, I apologize. I had numerous technical issues, starting with computers not down and having to pull everything up. First thing in the morning, usually that's already ready to go for me right out of the gate. And like I said, 64.94 is my downside target. I just don't have a short entry here. 65.35 was my short entry, and it just didn't climb up there. So maybe in a couple of minutes. Advancers slowly creeping up to 1440. Again, that's not exactly bearish. It's not bullish, but it's not bearish either. And I'll be right back. ES is pushing into the white zone again. I'm just waiting here patiently before I take a trade one way or the other. Hey, Mike, good morning. I see you're in the room. I apologize. I post that link is the first thing I post every evening, just so you know. I had tons of technical problems this morning, so just running behind in my process. Again, I'm not taking the ES trade here. I'm just waiting to see who shakes out with what. I expect it to be slow and grindy. The range on ES so far actually hasn't expanded. And we're talking about a whole 3.5 points. NQ is what's really expanding to the downside. About 25.06 and 3/4. I apologize. That's the mid of the open gap. I'm obviously pulling my 65.35. Cool. Thank you, Ron. 30 down off of Globex and NQ. I don't have a location here besides just being Monday's low. Do you? So I'll wait till I get above my last best seller. Mid of the gap, yeah. That's modified half gap. You'll often get a response off of that. So it looks like this. Top of the gap, bottom of the gap. That's the mid between those 2 points. Mid of the half gap right there. That's usually where you'll find a response. It's aggressive because there's no volume there, right? You're just taking a shot in the middle. So, but that would, if I was going to take the trade, that's where I'd be taking the trade. This is, by the way, on NQ, the definition of gap down, open drive lower. So you're getting a heads up on the warning. We're expanding range from overnight, from one day to the prior day. So we have range expansion, right? We failed to fill the gap, right? And we've shown no responsive buyers so far. So 65.07, 65.0750, that's where I'd be looking. Make sense to you, Ron? No, it's not a gap down from Dalton standards, but most people would consider that a gap down. It's a gap down within range from a volume profile standpoint, not from a TPO. Anyways, I'm not uber aggressive this morning one way or the other. I respect the fact that we're opening up and that's the weakest open we've had in a couple of days, right? So I can just lay back and let them do what they got to do. If you feel like fishing along, be my guest. I'm just not there yet. Um, 94 on NQ is what I was referring to. And I have a point of control there from a 30-minute half-hour bar all the way down to 64.90, 64.74. That whole area starting at 64.94, this whole area is valid. I expect some type of response to the mid of the open gap. And I had a short sitting at 65.35 that did not get filled this morning, just didn't push into the white zone. I'm not taking the ES trade. I'm just kind of waiting patiently. I should have had a potential short at 26.97 and I didn't take it. Unfortunately, for better or for worse, I just didn't take it. Hold on one second here. I need to modify something. So I'm sitting patiently. I wanted a short. I didn't get it. So that's okay too. Does that help, Ralph? Are we on the same page? 93.75. Oh, and ES. Interesting. Yeah, I had that as the bottom of a white zone, but NQ and ES are kind of detached. I don't know who's going to play what. There's no econ today. So we're really probably in a waiting game scenario. Again, if you're aggressive, 65.07 is where you're looking to find responsive buyers. There's an open gap right below it at 6,500. There's that 65.0750. You can see we got an immediate response off that 65.07 area. We'll see if that holds or if they melt. My guess is we'll attempt to push back up, see if we trap back above Monday's low. Again, that's the area in general where I expected to find a response. Again, at this point, I have to get at least above this 5-minute bar to get any kind of backside test, right? So I'm just on hold here. 65.06 3/4. If I was going to take it aggressively, that's where I'm looking. Right. Again, we're in the first 15 minutes of the day, and sellers are clearly in control at this point. And according to my method of entry, I'm not above my last best seller, right? So I'm pretty relaxed. They're clearly trying to hold the mid of that gap. If that fails, next is the open gap, and then lower areas further down, right? Again, tick's not overly negative. Advanced decline's weak, but not horrid. You have hung out a lot of people on NQ, right? And that is open drive lower. So this is testing that mid. I think this is a valid place to take location, but it's aggressive just because you're just buying into the bottom. That's all. That's the reason why it's aggressive. You can also argue that the mid gap already got the response. You are 30 down, which is helping. I'm just on hold till I get above my last seller. That's all. They're trying to hold the mid of that open gap, obviously. I would suspect that you get a response out of that area back up towards Monday's low, which they tried, but the trap would be above Monday's low and then a push back up. We'll see if they can manage that. Tick is starting to get weaker as ES starts to get weaker, by the way. That is by definition open drive lower, guys. So don't be shocked, right, if you're trying to get a reversal that it just rips in one direction. That should not be a shocking event to you. Obviously, you would expect in a bull market that they step back in at some point and push back up. I'm not above my last best seller. We're not above the last 5-minute bar, et cetera, et cetera. And then it all just depends on what your level of comfort is with risk on a push to the downside. My guess is they attempt to bounce it somewhere. And they already did off that mid. And we've closed below the mid of that, by the way. This is the advantage of waiting until you get above your last seller, right? That sure would have been nice to get that short. That'd have been nice. I would like that, yes. Yeah, Daniel's asking if I want the 5-minute bar to engulf the whole entire bar, including the wick of the bar, and I would, yes, for the backside test. Mostly I'm just concerned with not catching a falling knife. All right, Daniel. As a lot of people have already this morning. I know that I'll get an opportunity. I know we're likely to backside test that area at some point. We're likely to have balance at some point as well. So let's see if they can drag him back up to minus 15 points, get a 10-point rotation, something of reason going, right? If you're aggressive, this is a 30-point rotation down, but I'm just waiting until we get above and then waiting for the backside test. And it's interesting, my last bestseller was actually located way up there. We actually had divergence all the way down during the RTH. My last bestseller is actually this bar right here. Is actually my last bestseller. So this bar here is what we got to get above, and the point of control that we got to hold above now, right now for this bar, is sitting at 65.10. Why isn't that analysis? Chart settings. Advanced 2. On chart 13. There we go. So 65.10 is the point of control currently on this half-hour period, which we have 4 minutes left to go. And this bar is actually the heaviest seller so far. Right here, excuse me, I apologize. 1 over. Ignore that. Sorry about that. And on NQES, same thing. The last heaviest seller is still this bar. This is the bar you have to get above, believe it or not. So I don't have a long right now. If I follow my methodology strictly, right, I do not have a long, and I've still not closed above even my last seller, much less my last best seller. So realize sometimes I'm just going to miss it when it doesn't do that, right? I can show you plenty of examples where I don't. The point is, when I get that last best seller, I tend to nail my location and get paid. So that's what I care about, obviously. So the mid of the half gap, you should put in your notes, right? That mid of the open gap is a great trade location if you can get it. The mid of the half gap tends to be a great trade location. You can see from here, it's paid almost 7 points from there. Just because it's not in my trade plan doesn't mean I won't show you where that trade location is, hiding at least, right? I need to get above right now 26.93 and a quarter, right? That'll set up a long for me if I do get in there. I realize that's well off the low. That's what it is. So it would be a 3-point stop for me if that failed. And I've got no long on NQ right now. As a matter of fact, we need to hold above 65.10. Point of control is not shifted yet from our opening rotations. And you can see we're not closing above even the last seller, much less the last best seller, right? As measured by the ratio, by the delta of sellers to buyers. Expect algos in the next 2 minutes. This is, when you look back, how trend days start, how they quite often look like this. The only thing we're missing is a gap down, right? But 3 red bars down, right? That's what a lot of your pictures will look like, right? Ralph's pointing out that 26.90 and a quarter, thank you, is the mid of the last session, 24-hour. We're obviously trying to hold that. I agree with you, Ron. I think it could be a holiday week, but what I want to do is make sure that if I'm getting my location, given the holiday week, given the votes on tap, I know that when that vote comes up, we'll get more volatility, right? What I want to make sure is I don't dig any kind of significant hole one way or the other, and that I get paid properly. So I had the right short, right? Just didn't fill it, but I had the right short location, and now I'm waiting to get my right long location. And that for me means 26.93 and a quarter. And this backside test is 65.10 if you're comfortable taking a shot at it. As long as it holds above that 65.10 to 65.06, not counting the wiggles, right? You're okay. I'm just going to I just don't see it clearly like I did pre-market where I wanted the short. I don't see the long clearly here. So I only want those trades that I'm pretty confident will pay me, right? So there's the push down all the way towards the low. Again, we never got above our last best seller. They were fighting really hard to hold this, obviously. And the key there is going to be getting above my last best seller. Again, guys, on ES, that's 25.9350. I got to close above that, get a backside test. On NQ, that involves getting above this point right here. I'm backside testing this location. If I don't get it, I don't get it. I'm pretty comfortable letting it go. All right, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get multiple scalp entries today. I think we did a good job. No one got clipped at the white zone, right? Which is often a place we'll take it immediately. So that was a great read right out of the gate. We had the short right, even if we didn't get the fill. We had the right idea on the short side on NQ, and we had the right idea of if you wanted to be aggressive or to take the long, right? That's paid you 7 if you took it. I did not, right? And so I can wait patiently for the rest of this to develop. Interestingly enough, for the first time in a little while, you see Bitcoin down today, and there's been a lot of froth in some of the Bitcoin tech stocks. That could be what's driving NASDAQ down. Several of the Bitcoin-related stocks have just been going nuts, like 300 to 600 kind of stuff that you saw in 99. There's one called Apple Gap down on the Nomura downgrade. Thank you, Daniel. That's heavily weighted in NQ. Could also be having a net waiting on how the market's behaving, right? Again, entry for me long would be this 26.9350, a trap back in. So what are the conflicts, right, guys in the room? Where are we going to run into conflict? The white zone, usually a backside test of that white zone is a short, but I'm showing a trap, right? I'm showing a long side entry above 26.9350. So what do I do in that situation? So this is a good question because it's going to cause confusion in the room. I'm not clear, right? So what I would prefer to have that trap is I would prefer to have my last best seller here, get a backside test, and have a shot into 93.50. Since this 93.50 is a key area that doesn't disappear. My work's pretty good. Usually the white zone. By the way, for my Russell traders, you got your 2 points. I believe you got your 2 points off the white zone. 52, 2. You did your 1, and you still have your trailer in play. So hopefully, James, you got paid on that. That's right. That's exactly what your trade plan is on that Russell. Same thing with you, David. David R. If you got that, brother, that is your trade plan right there. First tap in. Yesterday, you were one out of 2. You had 1 loss, 1 win. But over the last 3 weeks, you're just killing it if you're trading the white zones and Russell. So important. Based on my internal indicators, this is the bar I got to get above, not this one. Okay, and that's important. On trend day down, you'll tend to get above some of these bars, and then they'll still roll it to the downside. So I'm waiting patiently. 26.93 still my area on ES and NQ. Pretty sure. I mean, gosh, my NQ number is so far up there, it's unrealistic that I'll take the trade there. It's all the way back up, right? So every trading method has holes in it sometimes. I'm all the way back up at 65.25. So I'm obviously not taking a backside test of 65.25 with a 25-point stop, just not happening in a balanced market, chop market. So I'll just have to wait till we go through another cycle to find a long. And that often tells me on on NQ that I'm just not going to get it there, that we actually need another cycle before we get the reversal. And that's good to know. Coming into VWAP over here, let me add VWAP. Here, there we go. So we're under VWAP. We're in the bottom third of the range. We haven't had any kind of spectacular bounce off the lows, and we avoided getting smashed. It's all good with me. Yeah, I agree. But that's normal, Daniel. You're going to have guys sitting at VWAP trying to catch the continuation on that. So that doesn't mean a lot by itself. VWAP is an indicator. View it as the white lines on the highway, easily crossed. You just have every rookie trader out there going, oh, VWAP means something, right? So you'll see people talk about VWAP's the smart money and VWAP's this. VWAP only matters if you're truly having a trend day down. VWAP traders tend to be 50-50 traders unless they're using it very strategically. The fact that all the markets are below VWAP is interesting. Bill, banking stocks, how are we doing there? And Peter, how are we doing relative to bonds? I keep seeing a lot of negative feedback from the divergence between the markets and the junk bonds is still significant. Do you see it that way still? I know Gunlach, is that how you say his name, is just pounding the table on how big a divergence we have between the junk bond market and the equity markets. And guys, I've on YouTube, I apologize. I was running late this morning. I am going to kill the broadcast now. If you'd like to visit us in the room, we have lots of great trades in here. Email me at Trade and Perform, TRADE, and Perform. You can ask for a 5-day pass into the room. Again, my number one piece of advice is the market's always smarter than you, right? Seek to do what the market wants to do and not what you want to do, right? Don't be bearish. Don't be bullish. Just go, where's my entries? Where's my exits? Where's my setups? Let me get paid. It's all you should care about. And if your fill doesn't come, don't worry about it. It's never ending bus terminal. Okay. One trade after another. So that's my 2 cents on that. And thank y'all for joining. If you liked it, if you would please hit the like button. It helps me enormously, right? Most guys are paying to be in the room. So it would be a tip of the hat if you could please hit the like button for me. And I hope y'all are all having a wonderful day. Happy holiday season, whatever you celebrate. And you're joyous and free and good things are coming to you. Trade well, guys, and have a great day.